Brett Favre responds to Mark Gastineau confrontation video. It should have stayed private. The saga between former Green Bay Packers quarterback Brett Favre and former New York Jets defensive end Mark Gastineau has taken another turn after a viral video showed the two confronting each other at a card show in 2023. In the video, Gastineau expressed his frustration over Favre's role in a controversial moment during the 2001 NFL season, when he slid down to allow Michael Strahan to break the single-season sack record. Let's break this down because there's a lot going on here, and the drama is just heating up. The confrontation, Favre, Gastineau, and the slide heard round the NFL. First, let's take it back to 2001, the season that was memorable for more than just the high-flying offenses and legendary performances. This was the year that Michael Strahan set the NFL single-season sack record, surpassing Mark Gastineau's long-standing mark of 22 sacks, a record that had stood since 1984. In the final game of the 2001 regular season, the New York Giants were facing the Green Bay Packers, and Strahan needed one more sack to break the record. On a play in the first quarter, Favre dropped back, saw Strahan coming, and rather than trying to evade him, Favre famously slid down, allowing Strahan to sack him for the record-breaking 22.5th sack. Many people saw this as a sportsmanship move from Favre, but it didn't sit well with Mark Gastineau, whose record was now in jeopardy. In fact, Gastineau was so upset about the play that, 2 decades later, he confronted Favre at a sports memorabilia show in 2023, accusing him of taking a dive to hand Strahan the record. "I'm gonna get my sack back, dude," Gastineau says in the video, clearly still harboring some resentment over the whole ordeal. It's safe to say this has been a wound that's festered for quite a long time. Favre responds. A Twitter thread for the ages. After the video made its rounds on social media, Brett Favre took to X, formerly known as Twitter, to address the confrontation and provide some context. In a thread of tweets, Favre explained that his decision to take a dive was not as malicious as it might have appeared. According to Favre, he understood the significance of the play and how it affected Gastineau's legacy. But he also made it clear that he believed it was a move made out of respect for the moment and Strahan's career. Not to undermine Gastineau's, but then Favre got real. He expressed some regret that the confrontation was filmed and made public. He went as far as to say that this is something that should have remained a private conversation rather than a moment for the cameras. It's not every day you see a Hall of Famer acknowledge that something should have stayed behind closed doors. But here we are. Favre also took the opportunity to praise Gastineau's career, arguing that Mark Gastineau, a key player in the New York Sack Exchange, deserves to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Here's a look at the thread Favre posted. Brett Favre's Twitter thread response. "I get it, I understand Mark's frustration, but I want to clear the air about the play in question during that 2001 game. I was aware of the record being on the line, and I respected the moment. It wasn't about handing Strahan the record, it was about recognizing his career. It's a tough situation, but it wasn't done with malice. Now, I know this had an impact on Gastineau's legacy, and I regret that. It's not easy to have a record you worked so hard for broken like that. Especially when it feels like it was done intentionally. I didn't want it to go down that way, but I had to stand by my decision in the moment. However, I must say, this is a conversation that should have stayed private. It wasn't meant for cameras or social media. Mark and I should have had the chance to talk this through, without it becoming a public spectacle. But I also want to say this. Mark Gastineau was a dominant player in his time. His impact on the NFL, especially with the Jets, is undeniable. He's part of the reason why the New York Sack Exchange is remembered as one of the best defensive lines in NFL history. The fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame is an injustice. And I think he deserves a spot. A new look at the New York Sack Exchange. The video of this confrontation was part of the ESPN's 30 for 30 marketing campaign for a documentary about the legendary New York Sack Exchange. If you haven't heard of it, the Sack Exchange was the nickname given to the dominating Jets defensive line of the 1980s, a unit that featured some of the most feared pass rushers of the time, including Gastineau, Marty Lyons, Joe Klecko, and the late Abdul Salam. Gastineau was the centerpiece of this group, known for his explosive speed and ability to terrorize quarterbacks. He set the NFL single-season sack record with 22 sacks in 1984, which remained unbroken until Strahan's controversial play. That's why, for Gastineau, the 2001 game was such a bitter pill to swallow. The documentary, titled The New York Sack Exchange, will highlight the careers of these defensive icons and provide an inside look at the Jets' legendary defensive line. It premieres on Friday, and judging by the viral nature of this confrontation, it's going to be one that fans won't want to miss. Legacy and what's next for Gastineau? As Favre mentioned in his Twitter thread, Gastineau's career has often been overshadowed by that one controversial moment with Strahan. But it's important to recognize his overall impact on the game. The sack exchange unit was dominant. And while Gastineau may not have the Hall of Fame jacket yet, his place in NFL history is secure. It's a bit of a tragic irony that a moment of sportsmanship from Favre might have been a turning point in Gastineau's career trajectory. With the release of the 30 for 30 documentary, it's possible that this story gets another chapter in Gastineau's legacy. Will it help push him into Canton? Only time will tell. But this confrontation, and the history it brings to light, certainly shines a new spotlight on the iconic sack exchange. Conclusion. It seems like the saga between Brett Favre and Mark Gastineau will continue to be a topic of conversation for a long time. Whether it's through social media exchanges, documentaries, or candid moments at memorabilia shows, what's clear is that both players have a lot of respect for each other. Even if the history between them is a bit complicated, will this confrontation change how we view Strahan's sack record? Probably not, but it does remind us that sometimes the most historic moments in sports come with a little bit of controversy. As for Gastineau, here's hoping that the upcoming documentary sheds more light on his legacy and maybe even helps secure him a spot in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's all for today's video breakdown. What do you think about the Favre-Gastineau confrontation? Do you agree with Favre's response? And do you think Mark Gastineau deserves a spot in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to keep up with all things NFL. Until next time, take care and stay tuned for more updates.